Esmeralda Malgoza with CBS News. We're outside the courthouse waiting for the final verdict to be announced. These are the final minutes of the infamous test tube baby death trial involving the destruction of John and Doris Delzio's in vitro fertilization embryo. Columbia Presbyterian's Dr. Raymond Vanderweel, chair of the OBGYN department, allegedly put an end to the test tube baby without first notifying the Delzios and Dr. Landrum Shuttles, the mastermind behind this controversial IVF test trial. And with the recent birth of Louise Brown, many people are starting to question if IVF is truly an act of science fiction or a blessing for the countless infertile couples across the country. While most people have decided to go home and watch from the comfort of their living room, a small group of protesters have decided to linger around and wait for the verdict. Excuse me, would you please explain the reason behind your protest?
Certainly. It is unnatural to create test tube babies. This is a natural process in which fertilization happens in a laboratory setting. Scientists shouldn't mess with the rules of God and nature.
The idea that we create an embryo outside the body and stick it back in is appalling. Do not understand that this process could be flawed. The baby could be born a monster. These scientists must be mad.
But we've recently witnessed the birth of Louise Brown in the UK, and we all know that she was born healthy.
The mutations do not necessarily have to show up now. She could be more susceptible to deadly diseases later in life, have her children carry these diseases in the future, and her lifespan can be shortened. The list could go on and on.
Don't you think it's wrong to deny a couple the right to have children?
I fear this type of technology is a slippery slope. We'll start with infertile couples one day, and the next day we'll want to have crazy couples wanting to have smart babies, beautiful babies, musical babies. Like it was said before, we shouldn't be messing with God and nature.
This just in, the reporter inside the courthouse has received news of the final verdict. This is Esmeralda Malgoza reporting with CBS News.
Hello and good evening. This is Caroline Morgan with CBS News. The verdict on the test tube baby death trial has been made. The jury has found Van Weel guilty. No word on the settlement as of now. We will be keeping you posted. Wait just a moment. Here comes John and Doris Delzio. Excuse me. Hello and good evening. Any immediate thoughts on the trial being over?
My clients are glad that they finally have peace of mind.
Doris, the media has been frenzied over your comment in the courtroom when you asked why you filed the lawsuit, and you said that you didn't want anyone, and I quote, to have Dr. Van Weel kill their baby. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, before we met Dr. Shuttles, I felt like a failure. I couldn't give John a child. Then we met Dr. Shuttles.
Shuttles was this amazing guy, a guy who was going to make a success out of what we wanted. We didn't think twice. If we were going to have a child, this was going to be our only shot.
How could you trust someone with a technology that is so, new?
Well, IVF is not a new technology. Harvard scientists did IVF with rabbits in the 1930s, and in the 1940s, Miriam Menken successfully created fertilized human embryos in the laboratory.
And I had polio as a child. Doctors cured me. Ever since then, I've seen doctors as people who help sick people become happy and live normal lives. If they could do that, they can help me have a child too.
How do you feel after Weel's action?
It was terrible. I kept asking him over and over again if anything could be salvaged. Hearing that everything was destroyed just stunned us.
After that, I couldn't sleep. I felt useless. I felt like crying.
It's okay. After that, Doris became aloof and detached. She felt like she wasn't a woman anymore. I couldn't do anything to make her happy. It was a miserable time for the both of us.
Why did you press charges against Mr. Van Weel?
My clients value the potential benefits of IVF treatments and wanted to make sure that IVF experiments could go on in the United States, free from the interference of individuals like Dr. Weel.
And people should be able to have children, their own children, if they desire to do so.
If science says you can have your own child, and the couple does indeed want to have a child, then nothing should stop them from doing so.
Thank you. This is Caroline Morgan reporting live.
We have just gotten word that Dr. Landrum Shuttles has exited the courthouse. Here he is. Dr. Shuttles, I'm Esmeralda Malgoza from CBS News.
Yes, what do you need?
Just a few questions about the jury results. Why did you have to do the experiment without your supervisor's knowledge?
Well, he was afraid.
Afraid?
Yeah, he was afraid that I was doing some mumbo-jumbo experiment, creating some mutant babies, messing with chromosomes. He was afraid that my experiment would cost the hospital money.
Why did you go behind his back and do the experiment anyways?
Well, I knew what I was doing. I knew that my research would yield the birth of a healthy baby. I just needed a couple willing to do the experiment, and the Delzios were exactly what I needed.
Why were you so hasty about everything?
You're a newscaster. You should know your news. And you should know what's going on with the world. With the Roe versus Wade being passed, I had to act quickly before those meddling people made a ban on the embryonic research period.
Do you have any regrets?
No, my only regret is getting caught. I wouldn't have caused so much grief in the lives of the Delzios if the whole experiment went as planned. But mark my words, IVF technology may be the worst of science fiction today, but it will soon become something as normal as going to the dentist. We're going to see more couples having little Louise Browns of their own.
Thank you, Dr. Shuttles. We will continue to provide coverage involving the results of the test tube baby death trial. So stay tuned. This is Esmeralda Malgoza with CBS News.